morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 1202. Happy Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday. We're going to play Name That Player. And if you are into vintage, today is your day. Finally, after how many games of Name That Player, we have a vintage-only edition. So I think the newest card that we're going to play today is 1974. It's all baseball. So vintage only, Name That Player. I think we have 14 cards from the early 1900s all the way to 1974. So vintage edition of Name That Player this morning. Had a good birthday yesterday. Watched a movie, opened some cards. So I'm going to review a little bit of everything. Had sushi. It's a good day. What else is going on? This weekend, Janesville Card Show, Sunday. See me in Janesville, Wisconsin, Holiday Inn Convention Center. I will have oodles and oodles of dime boxes. So come see me in Janesville. Fill up for some dimes, and if you want bulk, I will be there blowing these boxes out. So come on out and see me in Janesville this Sunday. This is like my most relaxed weekend until, ironically, the national weekend is the next time I'll have kind of a low-key weekend. So next weekend is my nephew's wedding reception. They had like a destination, very small gathering for their wedding a couple of weeks ago. So that's next weekend. I'll be out of town. The following weekend, Madison Card Show, June 22nd. Tables long sold out for the Madison Card Show, Saturday, June 22nd. Remember, only 2 ballrooms will be open, kind of like the old times. The third room won't be open, but we'll try to lock in that third ballroom for July, and it looks like moving forward, there's going to be demand for it. I didn't know with the summer months what demand would be, but there's a lot of demand. So we'll get that puppy back open. It's not available this month, so we'll try for it in July moving forward. So that's June 22nd, Madison Card Show. Then after that, I'll be volunteering day, but at the end of the month, so the weekend I'm actually free, I guess, end of July, but Monday, Tuesday, I'll be out for Club 400, the 1984 Chicago Cubs reunion. It's going to be the event of all time at Club 400. There's going to be at least 20 former Cubs players in attendance, led by Hall of Famers Ryne Sandberg and Lee Smith. Who else? Ron Cey will be there. Thad Bosley. Dave Owen, Leon Durham, Jody Davis, Gary Matthews, Bobby Dernier. Who else is going to be there? Dave Owen, Richie Hebner. Trying to think of who else. Who was announced? I think Hebner was announced yesterday, but it's going to be a huge event. I can't wait. There's a golf outing Monday event. The golf outing, I think, is private for the players. And then Tuesday night is the event. I think there are still tickets available. Tickets are $300. May seem like a steep price tag, but you get to hang out with 20 former Cubs, including me there. So that's coming up at the end of the month. And then we go to Switzerland. So and then come back for the July Madison Card Show. So busy stretch here coming up. Let's get into the chat. Say our hellos. Victor is here. What's up? Good morning. Tough loss last night, as they always are. It's just it's a roller coaster Cub season. I don't know. What are the Cubs going to do? I fear the near future of the Chicago Cubs in terms of I can see an utter collapse by this team. Which we basically already have seen. However, I can also see, the old saying, look at the back of the baseball card. A lot of these guys are hitting under their career averages. in baseball, the numbers always either go down or come up. Were we going to see Shota Imanaga complete the entire season with a 1 ERA? Absolutely not. Are we going to see some of these players bat 180 for the entire season? Absolutely not. So players will come up and players will come down. And so, but my fear is whatever it all adds up to will not be enough. And it's going to be another disappointing season on the north side. My biggest fear, though, is the front office not being able to handle how to manage a 26-man Major League Baseball roster. They've built a nice farm system, but my fear is what you build a farm system to develop talent and also to trade that minor league talent for major league talent to compete for a World Series, not compete for Baseball America Top 100 lists. Yeah, it's all fun and games when you have 7 players in the top 100, but what are they doing at the major league level? Right now, absolutely nothing. So my fear is this front office cannot turn those trade chips, prospects, into valuable Major League Baseball players. And we've already seen them mismanage decisions over the last year or two constructing the roster. And that's my fear with the Cubs. I sound like a very big pessimist, but we're into June. By the end of April, you can say it's like, okay, well, yeah, we should have won that game, blah, 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 but it's still early. Well, it's not early anymore. It's June 7th, and here we are below 500. So what are we going to do in next month, when the trade deadline approaches? And so I am down on the Cubs. David, what's up? Good morning. George in the house. What's happening? Philly Joe is here. Happy Friday. Brian, what's going on? Good morning. I think I'll be seeing Brian later today. Boston Smoke, good morning. Alan, what's up? Good morning to you. Talking Tatis in the house. Good morning. Dave is here. What's happening? Mr. Archer, good morning. Mikey is in the house. How was your birthday? It was a very pleasant birthday. It was just another day. I although I did, so after Hobby Evolution, I did a bunch of shipping and got ahead on my shipping. And then I came in here and I listed a lot. I started with 83 Donruss. So I decided instead of selling, and here's why I made that decision. 83 Donruss. We can let's look at the comps. And I didn't look yesterday, but I know about where an 83 Donruss sells for shipped. I'm saying $40. $40 shipped. So 1983 Donruss complete set. Go to sold listings on eBay. And here's why I decided what I did. Again, we can kind of go back to yesterday. If this wasn't a full-time gig for me, if I was strapped for time, if I only have 2 hours, 4 hours to devote to selling cards on eBay, I would have sold the 1983 Donruss as a complete set. I do this full-time. What's my key to sales? Singles. So I can piece it out. Okay, so the last couple sold for a little more. $70 shipped. Let's see, 47 plus 20. So it looks like around $70 shipped. That's a complete factory set, original sealed bricks. So that's going to go for a little more. But it looks like with what I had was going to be about $70. I think $70 would have been, probably what I would have got for the complete set. So $70. However, it was not sealed. It was, opened. When I first found it, I did find, I think the first rookie that I found was Ryan Sandberg. Okay, if Sandberg's in there, it's probably a complete set, but you never know. I would have had to gone through and looked through to make sure every card was there. That's time consuming. In fact, that would take more time than what I did yesterday, going through the whole box and pulling out the stars, because I'm not having to look at the back. And if they were not in numerical order, then you got to spend like an hour making sure it's all there. And one of the cards was creased. One of the Diamond Kings, I think I threw it away. It was creased. So That's another thing. How's the condition on all of them? You have to look at that. There are horror stories when it comes to complete sets being sold like that, especially if it's, I think it's all there. The key rookies are there, but then all of a sudden it's missing 6 common cards, right? So instead of doing all that, $70 shipped, it's going to cost about $10. That's kind of what I price. It might, depending on which zone it's in, it might be as low as 6 or 7, could be as high as 12. So figure $10 plus, all the fees and all that. I had somebody reach out, was interested in the Sandberg rookie that I showed off. I have several Sandberg rookies. Sure. So we did a little trade. And I know the Gwyn's still there. The Boggs is still there. And a whole bunch of others. And I think I ended up listing, it might have been over 100 singles. I've moved a couple already in the first 12 hours or so. So that's how I kind of decide. And then 82 Donruss is going to be the same. I'm still sitting on it. We'll see what I end up deciding to do with the 82 Donruss. Am I going to take the time to actually sort it? Depends on what the price is. I think that set sells for, maybe that's the set that was in the $40 or $50 range, because I think Ripken is the only big rookie. 83 has 3 key rookies. 82, the one key rookie would be the Ripken. So that's how. And then I listed some. I'd sorted all these players. I'm gonna do player lots, and I did 2 Ripken lots. Ozzie Smith, Mike Schmidt, a couple Julio Rodriguez, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a little test, and I did. I listed 2 50-card lots of Cal Ripken Jr., and I think they're priced at $23, maybe $25 or best offer. And then I listed 100 Cal Ripken Jr. singles. So just going to kind of compare and see, okay, do my customers prefer cherry picking, or are they just going to go for the lots? Which ironically was it Nolan Ryan. I listed a 50-card Nolan Ryan lot on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. And ironically, I sold 8 Nolan Ryan singles yesterday. And I'm like, and then the same person bought like 7 or 8 Freddie Freeman singles. I'm like, oh, okay. So there you go. And then I think they bought some more of a certain player. So thank you if you're listening. How was my birthday? So that's what I listed a lot. I shipped a lot. Made my post office run. My wife got home. She came home a little early, and we sat out on the deck. It was cold. It was windy and cold. It's like, man, if it would have been sunny and not windy, it would have been a very pleasant afternoon. But it was chilly, and I had shorts and a polo on. It's like, well, I'm cold. I want to go get a hoodie. So I ended up coming back in the house, and then I think I came downstairs to do something. I went back upstairs, and where's my wife? So we have a screened porch that has never been used. Now, we've only been here for 11 months, but it's never been. And to be fair, it wasn't finished until November of last year. And then my wife set the furniture up this past spring, couple months ago, whatever. So she's in there. And so I go in the screen. I'm like, okay, this is nice. Like, we've never spent any time in here. Like, I think the only time we've spent in there is when my wife set it up and I wasn't even there. So she's like, these chairs. So I tried, like, I haven't even sat in any of these chairs or the couch. So I'm like, okay. And she's got a couple of the windows open because it's all windows. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of nice. And I'm like, we just need a TV in here. She's like, yeah, I'm looking. So the issue was, do we mount a TV in there? And the problem is, if we mount it, it's like, well, it's difficult to take off. And so this is a screen porch. It gets cold in Wisconsin in January. So we don't want a TV out in, it's not in the elements, but it's cold. It's the temperature. So my wife's looking up, she's like, indoor, outdoor TVs are really expensive. And I'm like, so if we don't mount it, why don't we just mount a shelf and then put the TV on the shelf? And then there's like a plug-in, so it would be up on the wall. So we just put a shelf up there. And then when the TV's up there, it covers, we plug it in, covers everything up. Boom. So I think that's what we're going to do. So it's a very nice, it's like, this is nice. Like in the summer, like instead of laying on the couch watching Netflix inside, like open the windows and go out on the screen porch. So after that, then we went to our favorite sushi place, Takara. And my wife also we don't do gifts, really. We're going to Switzerland in a couple weeks. So it's like, let's just treat ourselves in Switzerland. So she got me a Topps Super Box. All right. So I'll do the Topps Super Box review. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I've never bought one, but I've always thought these kind of look cool. And when they first came out, they were super popular. I think people were flipping them, as people do when new product like that comes and there's demand. Hey, I get it. Supply, demand. Make that bread. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I ripped into it last night. And I think there's 10 packs. I should have taken it. I didn't take any pictures. There's 10 packs. There's an exclusive Super Box pin that comes in a package that looks like a condom wrapper. And then there's an oversized card. And then there's like a foil pack. So there's like the special Super Box foils. I think there's 5 cards in that pack. I'm like, okay. So I opened the pin first and I got Ellie De La Cruz. And I sold it for $10. Boom. Sold in like an hour. So that was like, oh, cool. Happy birthday. And then, and you may think, well, why would you sell your gift? Like my wife gets this stuff for me to sell. Like she knows I enjoy ripping it and I enjoy selling it. So that's what it's all about. So, I think that's the only thing I listed from the Super Box. And then I opened the packs and you get like 3 inserts per pack. And I'm like, this is fun. It was a really fun rip. And then the foil, and I ended up getting Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper, 2, big names in the foil. I mean, they're probably only $2-3 cards, but there's a lot of value in that. I don't know what the retail price is on these Super Boxes. I don't know if they're $50. I would assume they're probably in that range, $40 to $60. But I think there's a lot of value in that. It would be something that if I just wanted something to rip for fun, Top Series 1 is something that I would certainly not tell you to go out and rip and flip blaster boxes of Series 1. That is long gone. First few days after release, absolutely. Right now, hell no. Moving forward, no. But if you want something for fun and get some value, I saw a lot of value in that. And even without, making a sale within an hour on the one thing that I listed, like I just felt there was value. It kind of reminds me of early 90s Score. And I know a lot of people shit on early 90s Score. For me, it's nostalgic. And I think it's nostalgic because when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, 90, 91, 92 Score, it felt like you were getting big cards in every pack. Like, because the sets were so big and they put, Score, I think was probably the first card company that figured out, hey, if we put 10 different cards of Jose Canseco and Bo Jackson, more people will buy our product. And that's, you felt when you got a Bo Jackson, like, I got a Bo Jackson card. Yeah, there's 10 on the checklist. There's 10 cards, on the checklist, but you felt like you got something. And every time you opened a pack of 1991 Score, it's like, oh my God, I got a Jose Canseco and I got this. You open a 1991 Topps pack, you might get one Jose Canseco, and then the rest are Nelson Santovenia, Keith Comstock, and Pat Perry. And it's like, yeah. But in Score, it wasn't the case. It was like all stars in Score. And that's kind of how I feel about the Super Box. Now, would I go out and buy Super Boxes to flip? Absolutely not. But if you want something to sit around, especially with kids or getting somebody not in the hobby to get in the hobby, this is a great entry level for fun part of the hobby type of product. It's not a flippers product. It's not a I want to make my money back product. It's just if you want to have fun and you enjoy the practice of ripping packs and you don't really care what your return is, but you do want to feel like you got something, it's a great product. So, and then we went to sushi and had some sushi. Love sushi. And came back and watched The Iron Claw. So I'll movie review Iron Claw. Let's get into more of the chat. Kyle is here. Good morning. Peter's in the house. Happy Friday. Holmes 168. Thank you. Great weekend to be a Reds fan. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. It was a great night to be a Reds fan last night, but hopefully that doesn't continue. Good morning, Jay. It's a F-Bomb Friday. Woohoo! F-Bombs. F-Bomb Friday. Lewis is in the house. What's going on? Good morning. Charlie's here. What's up? Listing and shipping and coffee. Oh, my. Sal Dougie's here. What's up? Good morning. Red Light 34. Good morning to you. Raphael, what's up? Dan's in the house. The big 4-1. No, I'm Jackie Robinson's jersey number now. I am the big 4-2. Victor's going to be at the 84 reunion. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. Uncle Rich is here. Good morning. Good morning. James says the wrestling nerds came out of the woodwork yesterday, sold a bunch of 80s wrestling cards. Nice. Those are pretty good return. Those move pretty fast. The 85 and 87 tops in particular. The 90 classic, 89, 90 classic, not so much, but they're an okay sell. Sean, what is up? Good morning. Hate the shirt you're wearing in your profile picture, but I love you, man. Hope all is well with you. Hopefully you can make it to one of the Madison card shows coming up if you're still in the area. Jody, good morning. Brian, what's up? Good morning to you. Sweet Cards dude, what's up? I wish it was cold down here in Texas, right? I know. In a couple weeks, I'll be like, oh, man, remember that day we had to go inside because it was so cold? Max says 72 and a slight breeze is cold. It was. Yes. I don't think it was 70. It was in the 60s here last night. I think when I looked, it was like 68 or 69. And it was fucking windy. It wasn't a slight breeze. You're in a different climate zone than I am. It was windy. It was windy here. It was windy. I would consider yesterday's, I don't know what the wind speed was, but it was windy. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Dan says 2024 White Sox 14-game losing streak. So they must have lost again yesterday. Now the longest losing streak in the 120-plus year history of the team. Hey, if you're going to do something, do it really well. And the White Sox are doing just that. They are losing. If you lose, you might as well be the worst. No sense in being mediocre. Good morning, Flawed Thinker. I'm ready to watch Roaring Kitties live today. Let's see if GameStop stock tanks or goes to the moon. See, I never got into the GameStop. Never got into the GameStop stuff. Johnny Boy Cards. Good morning. Happy Friday. Mikey says the Cubs have a longer losing streak in their history. I wonder what the Cubs losing streak is. I know it was at 96, 94, 96, or maybe 97. I think it was 97. I think it was the year before they made the playoffs in 98. They started the season like 0-14 or something, or maybe more, 0-17. I can't remember. Lewis says the Super Box can be bought on sale now, but they are fun rips. I'm confused on the companion cards with the jumbo card. I am too, because I pulled out I think it's basically another word for parallel is kind of how I pulled there's like the commercial, like Acuna on a little poster thing that covers the actual oversized card. And then there's like another card in there, just hanging out, just loosey-goosey, Rafael Devers. I'm like, oh, this wasn't supposed to be here. And I turn it over. It says COTD. And I'm like, what's that? So I looked it up on eBay. It's like a $3 card. But hey, you start adding those $2 and $3 up, becomes good. Do you know what the retail price? Do you know what the original retail price is and the sale price? I mean, if it's a good sale price, hell, I might, if I find one, if I'm at Walmart, I do have to go to Walmart. I might just check it out. If they're on sale for a decent price, like, yeah, this is fun. Charles, what's going on? Good morning. Cooter, what's up? Good morning to you. Gundy 98, what's up? Mikey says, what do you think of bringing Breaker on Raw? Love it. Love it. And I don't watch it very often, but Braun Breaker is going to be like the next big star. Now, take my words with a grain of salt, because I also said something similar about Jack Swagger, who is now Jake Hager, and I don't think he has a job. So, I think Braun Breaker is legit. He's going to be a star, and I mean, it's Rick Steiner's son, so he's got those wrestling bloodlines. So that's what I think. I think he's going to be the next big superstar champion. Thank you, Gundy. Appreciate it. Florida baseball card dude, what's going on? Good morning. Joe Trotto, happy Friday. Missed you yesterday. Bummer, man. Rich says they not only lost, they lost bigly. Morning, Mark. What's up? Rich says, even had my favorite type of game, a position player pitching. Love those. Except when it's my team on the losing side, then it's like, oh. Although it's still fun. It does make the game like interesting. Like, oh, we're losing 14-0, but hey, Patrick Wisdom is pitching. We have something to cheer for. Mikey says, growing up watching the Cubs with my grandpa was torture. They sucked so bad. So I'm trying to think of how old you were. You're only like 22. So you actually, they were fairly decent when you were growing up. I mean, there were some rough seasons. I guess if you're talking like 2010 to 2014, those were rough years. But the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, because you had 03, 04. I think they were still good in 05. 07, 08 were good. But then by 2010, then the wheels fell off. I think the bottom was 2012. That was a really brutal season, 12 and 13. And then 14 was like, okay, we've got all of our prospects. Hopefully they can make it to Chicago. They did. And by 2015 and 16, you saw it all come together. And here we are again. Eric, good morning. $40. That's a great price. Oh my God. $40 on those super boxes. It's a great price. Lewis says, I have seen them buy one, get one half off at Target and Meijer, which is a local version of Walmart. Yes, I'm familiar with we have Meijer. We don't have them here, but we have them in the region, I guess, in the Midwest here. Interesting. Maybe I'll check out. I haven't been to Target in a while. Maybe I'll hit up Target later today. Brian says, good morning. I'm just sitting on a sandy beach in Florida watching the waves and this great show. Hey, that sounds fun. Where are you at in Florida? You can go see Orlando. Not the city, but the man. Where is Orlando? And thank you. Appreciate that. Troy says, good morning. I read somewhere yesterday that the higher-ups in WWE want Breaker as the next big star and are positioning him to do so. And I think that would be great, because I mean, just watching some of, a couple shows that I've watched of NXT, it's like, man, this guy is good. Dan says, worst of all, Sox don't qualify for the number one pick because while Sox spend like a small market club, they're still considered a large market team, and those teams are ineligible for the draft lottery in consecutive seasons. Yes, all the new weird draft rules. That sucks. That sucks. And there's some good, by the way, this upcoming Bowman draft, which comes out probably December or January, there's going to be some highly sought after players cards in this set. Because this draft, which is coming up next month during the All-Star break, Major League Baseball draft, there are 2 or 3 guys that are, going to be very sought after in the card, in the hobby. Charlie Condon, Jack Caglianone, or however you pronounce his last name, and there's one other guy. Can't remember, but there's like a threesome of players that I think they'll be highly sought after in Bowman products. Mikey says, Breakker is my favorite wrestler. I watched him since he first debuted on NXT. He reminds me of Goldberg and Brock. Yeah. Troy says, you think being a Cubs fan is hard? Try being a Leaf fan. Oh, is that Toronto, the hockey? At St. Pete's Beach. Just being good enough to suck you in every year. Oh, that's the worst. Mediocre is the worst. That's like the Chicago Bulls a few years ago under the Garpax regime was like 15th. I mean, you can't like, if you can't bring in top free agents and then you're picking in the middle of the NBA draft, it's draft purgatory. Brian says, how do we all feel about $60 for a 2023 Heritage High Number Hobby Box? Again, I think it's a great deal. I mean, anytime you can get a hobby box for like 50, 60, maybe even $70, a great deal. Now, is it a flippable product? Probably not. Heritage is a tough sell after the fact. It's kind of it's a slow drip type of thing when you're talking last year's product, but for $60, it's a fun rip. Absolutely. Mikey says they had Undertaker and Cena interact with Breakker with promos on NXT. That speaks volumes. Heck yeah. Toronto's hockey team. Orlando, there he is. Hey, a special vintage Name That Player coming up today. The newest card that we're going to use for Name That Player is from 1974. So we've got pre-war represented, quite a few 70s, a couple 50s, and I think a couple 60s cards. So right up your alley. It's worse than the Bulls. We trade our first-round picks away almost every year. That's brutal. Mikey says we found Orlando. He has arrived. So I watched the Iron Claw. Speaking of wrestling, I watched the Iron Claw last night. I was waiting for it to come to one of the streaming platforms. It's on HBO Max. Let me see. Brian says, holy shit. 0 points for me. Brian is not happy with vintage. Yep. All vintage today. Orlando was at Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's. Love Trader Joe's. Their gnocchi is legit. My wife will go down to Trader Joe's and bring back like 12 bags of gnocchi. What else do we get? I love their pineapple salsa. When I was drinking regular coffee, I love Trader Joe's coffee. They have some good trail mix that I like. What else do we get from Trader Joe's? I mean, Trader Joe's just has awesome stuff. Harlan, what's up? Good morning. Uncle Rich says, Bo doing vintage. Is the apocalypse coming? Hey, I love vintage. It's just I don't have a lot. It's not what I sell. It's what I collect. But I just don't sell. Cooter says, we got cable in 1981. I'd watch the Cubs day games on WGN and the Braves games on TBS at night. Got to enjoy Dale Murphy's prime and the 84 Cubs. 82 to 84 cemented my love of baseball and the hobby. I wish, and I think we all kind of wish we could at least go back and see. I do. I wish I could time travel back to different eras, and especially like the 70s and early 80s. I wish I could go back, not forever, but just to experience it again. And I was able to experience 84 as a 2-year-old. So I don't have any memories of 84. But in the years following 84 and being a Chicago fan, we're always reliving history because we don't have the present to root for. So we were still living off the 84 Cubs. By 86, I was 4. And I do remember some of that, very just random memories of the Super Bowl. Of course, I don't remember games or anything like that, but and then by like 87, I think I can. That's around the time that I 5-6 years old. I can remember hearing Harry Carey and Cubs were always on and all that good stuff. Vintage Name That Player means UFO sighting, right? TGIF, grinding for goods in the house. Gnocchi. I know I pronounce it both ways. Gnocchi and gnocchi, because gnocchi just is difficult to pronounce. Gnocchi. So sometimes I just shorten it up, Nookie. Dan says, when I'm doing card stuff, I'll occasionally put on 80s or 90s Cubs or Sox games to hear Stoney and Harry, or Wimpy and Hawk. Yes. I wouldn't be able to handle Hawk on those Sox games, but I love going back, and you can hit up YouTube and find some classic games. And some like the Sandberg game I've seen multiple times. And it used to be played on ESPN Classic, now it's on Marquee Network. But that's a game that is seen a lot. I like just a random June game at Wrigley Field against the Montreal Expos. And those are some of the best games I enjoy. I had one game on, and Harry said something, and it was definitely like a sexual innuendo, and he's like kind of laughing at his own joke, and he said something to Stone, and Stone, of course, Stone is a great name for Steve Stone. It's his personality, and just just completely ignored Harry Carey. Rich says, as a 7-year-old, you got the 1989 Cubs, and that's a great year to become a fan. And that's really, that was the year leading up to it. It was kind of background, remembering Harry and Stone were my soundtrack to my youth. But then by 89, that's at 7 years old, that's when that's when it all came together, and I started wanting to watch the games, collecting the cards. That's when it all came together, 1989. Cooter says, my avatar photo is from 1984. Troy says, one stadium I want to go to is watch a game at Wrigley. Oh, it's so awesome. And it's not just the stadium itself, it's the whole neighborhood. And it's really like, and I have different, sometimes I'll go to, it used to be, Sluggers would be my pregame. This is in my younger year, in my 20s, we'd go to Sluggers. I had a high school classmate. She was a bartender at Sluggers. She usually worked the back bar, be like, hey, are you working today? She's like, yeah, I'll be in the back bar. Perfect. And she'd hook us up. And I also learned that the back bar was like, nobody's back there. And they have Papa Shop back there. So that was kind of my pregame spot. And then after the game, you go to the Cubby Bear. We did the Cubby Bear after for my bachelor party. And I got married in my mid 30s. So I'm past the party prime. And so there's like 6 or 7 of us, and we go to Cubby Bear after the game, and we're just standing in the back like, we're too old for this. So now it's I mix it up, and pregame I usually go to Yaxie's, and they have awesome wings, and then postgame is usually Murphy's, and sometimes I'll go to Nisei Lounge. That's more of it's definitely a dive bar. It's kind of a quiet spot, but it's usually pretty packed. So that's so it's just like just the overall, the neighborhood feel. It's just, I love it. I got to get back there, even with the Cubs sucking. I got to get back. Rich says there are some YouTube stations which play really old radio broadcasts. James says the Southside D-bags are crying that their team is trash on the news. Epic. Rich says, I love doing random 1960s games to listen to. I was 7 and we had a place in Maine, and every night it seemed I heard the Red Sox Impossible Dream. That's cool. That's cool. Made me a fan for life, but thankfully I became a Yankees fan instead of the Sox. Victor misses Harry. Yes. What a gem, man. And we'll never have a character like Harry Carey. Like, that just wouldn't fly in today's atmosphere. Rich says, I have a funny story about a Sabre convention in Milwaukee and a trip to Wrigley. Brian says, caught a game on the rooftops across from Wrigley, never stepped foot inside. Still need to catch a game. Oh, absolutely. Now, the rooftop, I've only been to one rooftop, and it was always one of those where it's like, I don't have any interest in going to a rooftop. It was a lot of fun. Like, the rooftop was actually a lot of fun. And basically, if you're in the bleachers, the rooftop is basically just the bleachers. You're just not in the stadium. You can basically see just as much from the bleacher or from the rooftop as you can in the bleachers. Rich says, we had a guy who could get confused. He was still sharp, but still needed someone to point him in the right direction. He needed to take a leak after the game and got separated from us. I mentioned when I got back in the bus, it's a perfect setup to lose this person. He's no longer with us. Sure enough, literally, as I said that to a friend, they came on and said, is Ron on this bus? We had to leave without him, but thankfully he figured it out and took a train from Chicago to Milwaukee, and we rescued him from there. James says, nothing like buying a $9 tall boy of old style. I wish they were $9. They're like $13 now. Let's see. Low Roller Scratch, you're talking about GameStop. Lewis Bain, pregame at Murphy's. I like the Sluggers Yaxies combo for pregame. Rich says, I mentioned when I got back in the bus. Oh, wait, we already told that story. HBG Gaming, what's up? Good morning. Cooter says, I got bumped by a white caddy walking out of Wrigley. I slapped the hood and was about to scream profanities when I realized it was Harry and his driver. Harry was drinking a Bud, of course. He was a Bud man. That's funny. Card Hobbyist in the house. Morning all. A bit late. Welcome. We're going to do some vintage Name That Player. Hey, I watched the Iron Claw. I'll make it fast here as we're over 40 minutes already. A depressing movie, but if you know the story of the Von Erichs, how do you make it not depressing? It was good. It was interesting. I don't know some of the detail, and with most movies, there's like details that are wrong. I'll have to go back and check kind of the, were these personalities, lined up to win the championships. But their story is fascinating, but extremely sad. If you're not familiar, I think they had 6 children altogether. There was Jack Jr., who passed away at 6 years old, was electrocuted. But I think the cause of death, he drowned he got electrocuted and fell face first into a puddle and drowned. Oh, terrible. So that was their first tragedy. And then David died in a hotel room in Japan. They said it was from like a ruptured intestine or something, but they also think it was probably a drug overdose. I think Mike committed suicide. Chris committed suicide. Kerry Von Erich, who was the Texas Tornado, committed suicide, shot himself in the head. Kevin's the only survivor. Just an absolutely awful family story. Where are we at? Rich says one of the Von Erichs is signing at Kyle's Investapelia in 2 weeks. Kevin is the one who is signing. He's the only surviving child of Fritz Von Erich out of 6, I think. Was it 6? Fritz or Jack, Carrie, Kevin, Mike, Chris, David. 6 kids. 1 survived. And 2 is like basically, I think they'd all died in their 20s. David was, I think, 25. I think Mike and Chris were both in their early 20s. Carrie was probably in his mid-20s, late 20s. Maybe he made it to 30. I think he died in the early 90s, 93, somewhere around there. So he might have made it to 30. And Kevin actually has 2 sons that are wrestling. They're the Von Erichs. And Von Erichs, not their real last name is Adkisson. But the father, Fritz, when he was a professional wrestler, he was, and of course this is back in the 50s when the evil bad guy heels were Germans. They were like Nazis. So Fritz Von Erich was this Nazi sympathizer, and So that's where then they all kept the Von Erich name in wrestling, and all the way down to the grandchildren now. Marshall and Ross, I believe, are the Von Erich tag team. I'm not sure which company they work for. MLW, Major League Wrestling, maybe. And then Kerry Von Erich had a daughter who was in wrestling she was in TNA. Lacey Von Erich was her name, but I think she retired like 10, 15 years ago. Gundy98 loved listening to Harry try to say Andres Galarraga, right? Cooter says, my wife made me watch the Iron Claw because she had a crush on the Von Erichs back in the day. That's awesome. Love it. Rich says, since I'm a big fan of Kyle's shows, if you are interested in mail-in autographs, there you go. Investabilia.com. Putting a link on his page in case you want to do mail order. Nice. All right. So yes, it was a good birthday. I am now Jackie Robinson's jersey number, the big 4-2. So also, let's before we flash the scoreboard, hit up my eBay store. I did list a whole bunch of cards yesterday. I think over 500 listings went live yesterday. Ken Griffey Jr. singles, Cal Ripken Jr. singles. Oh, like 200 Sports Illustrated for kids cards. I forgot about those. Also, here's a good story that I've told this many times. I listed a bunch of SI for kids. Basically, they were $250 each. A couple of them, I'm like, this might be worth more than $250. So some of them are like, and I know I've sold some $10, $5. So, but for the most part, I didn't comp anything. Well, all of a sudden, I'm taking Biscuit for a walk, and I get a bunch of offers, $1.50 offers on these cards, and I'm like, okay. So I looked up. The first one was a female soccer player named Marta. And I look at them, oh shit, this is like a $15 card, $20 card. So I declined the offer, and I put the price at $15 or best offer. By the time I ended the walk, I had a $10 offer. I'm like, oh, okay. By a different person. And then I think the second offer they put in was a card that's like a $10 card. So sometimes you just got to pull the trigger, and otherwise it's going to trigger my radar and be like, if somebody just buys it outright, I'm probably not going to look at comps on it. But if you send me an offer right away, I'm like, maybe I underpriced this. So yeah, I listed about 200 SI for kids cards, 100 Cal Ripken Jr. cards, 50 Ken Griffey Jr. cards, about 150 83 Donruss singles. What's in this stack? And then just, I think, random cards. Yeah, there's some early 80s, a lot of early 80s stuff in that stack. So eBay store, scrolling at the bottom of your screen, 99centcards.com. Buy 7 or more items. Can be lots, can be magazines. I've got some wrestling magazines in my store, some vintage wrestling magazines. So check those out, 99centcards.com. You'll save 25% off at checkout if you buy 7 or more items at regular price. Uncle Rich says, do we have enough people hit the like button? Hit that like button. And I'm going to do that myself because I got to get the YouTube on my phone as we approach Name That Player. Let's see. Uncle Rich says, pre-COVID, I once spent $50 on 10-cent SI for kids cards. Hate to tell you just how well I did with those cards 2 years later. Yeah, sometimes SI for kids cards are just a big old moneymaker. When we had the big freeze in DFW in early 2021 and I was stuck at home, I went through all my cards. March 2021, amazing Dallas card show that was. So we're going to play Name That Player, and we are doing vintage only. Get one of these out and a Post-it note because it looks like I've got 2 areas to cover. So we are doing vintage. I wonder if I can just do 2 of these notes. So the newest card that will be a part of Name That Player this morning, 1974. So right up Uncle Rich's alley, right up Cooter's alley, right up Orlando's alley, and whoever else is into vintage. So let's take a look at that scoreboard. Max has the lead at 44 points, but the card hobbyist made a huge run last week. He's only 2 points behind. Flipping Sports Guy, he came out of the woodwork, joined us yesterday. He's in third. Uncle Rich at 15 points. Matt Like has 14. We've got Joe and Dan at 13 each, also in double figures, Flawed Thinker and Harlan. So there is the scoreboard scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Max says doesn't count if they're dead. There's a few guys that are still alive. So we've got a few guys that are still alive. I think there's 14, but one's a duel. So there might be 15. We're going to start it off way back. We're talking early 1900s. Early 1900s. Who is this handsome man in a portrait? Early 1900s. All right, we've got our first guess as Rabbit Marinville. It is not. It is not Brown. It is not Johnny Evers. It's not fullback or Collins. It's not Ed Rulebach. I think Uncle Rich was the first. It is Frank Chance. Uncle Rich with the point. Frank Chance on a Sporting Life M116. All right, so Uncle Rich with Frank Chance. I see Uncle Rich. Very smart with Uncle Rich. Naming a lot of Cubs from that era. You knew it was going to be a Cub. I don't have any pre-war in my eBay store. Where's Uncle Rich at? Uncle Rich moves up to 16 points. All right. Hey, and just like that, we got another Cub. Another Cub coming in. It is. What an awesome card. All right. Cubs from the 70s. Didn't have the fame as Frank Chance, Joe Tinker, Johnny Evers, Ed Rulebach, Mordecai Brown, or any of the others from that era. But he's got a great mustache. We'll give it to Uncle Rich. I think he had a fat finger there. Yes, Uncle Rich gets it. Oh, but he corrected himself there. Dick Tidrow, good guess, because he had some great mustaches as well. Bob Locker. Bob Locker. All right. Uncle Rich, is he going to run the table today? Uncle Rich now at 17. All right, next up. I think we're going to the 40s or 50s. We may have done this one before. I'm not sure. I think. But we'll do it again. It's an old Bowman. I don't know what year this is. Is this 54 Bowman? Yeah, I think it's 54 Bowman. It says this guy got in 99 games for the 1953 edition of the Boston Red Sox. All right, we've got some guesses rolling in. I do not see the correct. Ironically, the first card we showed of Frank Chance, the same last name. It's a different player, but the same last name was guessed. So all you have to do is scroll up. And I think a couple people actually guessed the last name of this player. It's not Johnny Pesky, Roy Sievers, Johnny Padres. It's not William Smith. It's not Babe Ruth. It's not Collins. Again, the very first card we showed was Frank Chance. And a couple people guessed the last name of this guy. They're two different players. It's not Brown. It is Evers. This is old Hoot Evers or Evers. Uncle Rich with the point. Old Hoot Evers. Walter Hoot Evers. All right. Uncle Rich with another point. 3 for 3. Uncle Rich now at 18. All right. We got 2 points possible. This is an easy one. All right. So you've got to have fast internet for this one. What a hoot that was. So yeah, that's pretty sure that was 54 Bowman. All right. 2 potentials here. Yes, Jackson, Reggie Jackson. All right. So who's the other guy? Card Hobbyist gets a point. And it looks like, all right, make sure Card Hobbyist and Card Hobbyist. Card Hobbyist sweeps. And I think he's tied now with Max at the top of the leaderboard. Reggie Jackson and Willie Stargell. And Card Hobbyist, fast internet. And he's able to snag them both. Jackson, Stargell, 2 points for Card Hobbyist. And he is now tied at the top of the leaderboard with Max, 44 points apiece. All right. Now, we're going back to the 50s, and I know this. I'm trying to, is this Forbes Field? I know this set. This is 55 Bowman. Rich said, yeah, Card Hobbyist making the biggest comeback in Name That Player history. Pittsburgh Pirates. And it is correct. Not only is it the name of the product, but it's the name of the player. It's Roger Bowman. Roger Bowman. I didn't even have to say an ironic name. Uncle Rich with the point. That card is in my eBay store, by the way. Let's see. So Uncle Rich with 19. And he is closing in on a third place, on a tie for third place. Currently in fourth. All right. Next up. Oh, we got the old baseball scratch off. What year are these from? 69? Where is the sticky? There's the sticky. Cooter's favorite team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. This guy was a pitcher. A pitcher for the Dodgers. Rich says 70 or 71. Okay. Osteen is correct. Is it Osteen or Osteen? Where's John to tell me I don't know my baseball? Uncle Rich. Claude is correct. Uncle Rich with another point. Cooter says F the Dodgers. Cooter says F the Dodgers. All right, Uncle Rich. Moving on up. 20 points. Next, we are back to the 70s. And we've got some goo. Actually, it's not goo, it's Sharpie on the penny sleeve. All right. California Angels. You know who he looks like? This guy looks like it's Osteen. Thank you. This guy looks like the dad from Wonder Years. He looks like the dad from Wonder Years. Fregosi is correct. Jim Fregosi. Later became a manager in Major League Baseball. Jim Fregosi. All right. I think, was it Uncle Rich? Uncle Rich was the first. Let's make sure. Fregosi. Uncle Rich. And he is at 21. So he's 1 point away from tying Flipping Sports Guy. All right. Oh, here's another easy one. Now, this is Cooter's real favorite team. Pitcher for the Giants. This is I love 73 because it's just got random photos like this. Juan Marichal. Yes, Juan Marichal. Uncle Rich again. just ahead of Juan Marichal. Juan Marichal, beautiful card. That's also in my eBay store. Just make sure here, Uncle Rich was first. Let's see. Uncle Rich is now tied. Flipping Sports Guy. All right. We're into this. Now we're going back into the 60s, late 60s. Was this an impossible dreamer? 1969 Topps. Boston Red Sox. Let's see. Brian and Mikey say they suck at this. Jerry was signed by his dad. Oh, shit, I just gave away his first name. Was signed by his dad, a Boston scout. And Uncle Rich already guessed it, so I didn't have to give it away. So I did not give it away. It is Jerry Stevenson. Yes, Uncle Rich. Rich was so fast that I didn't even see it. Jerry Stevenson. All right, so we didn't give it away. All right, Uncle Rich has now surpassed Flipping Sports Guy and is alone in third place. Do a little flippity floppity here. And there we go. All right, next up, we're heading back to the 70s. Another 72. Rich is fast. I was able to meet this guy, another Dodger. I was able to meet this guy before he passed away too soon, like many of them have. Went on to play for the Cubs. Yes. Billy Buckner. Uncle Rich. Again. Billy Buckner. Uncle Rich has 24 points. All right. Early 60s. All right. Now this guy, this is a rookie card, played for the Cardinals. Yeah, Bill Buckner passed away like 6-7 years ago. Don Landrum, didn't have to give it away. My favorite Don Landrum card is 1963, where it's actually Ron Santo in the photo. Don Landrum, Cub and a Cardinal. So Uncle Rich again. Don Landrum. 25 for Rich. Uncle Rich says there's also a 66 with 3 variations. All right, we got 2 left. Another old Red Sox. And it's not Hoot Evers this time. Same set, though. 54 Bowman. Boston Red Sox. This is, I bet Rich will know. This is tough. I've never heard of this guy. Which means he probably hasn't had too many cards. It's not Fisk. It's not Ted. It is not Smith. Flawed Thinker, can you be more specific? Okay, I will give it to Flawed Thinker. It's Willard Nixon, and that's why I wanted his first was Wilford. I didn't know if that was a autocorrect, but then he came back and said Willard. We will give him the point for first name since it is Willard after all. So Flawed Thinker on the board. Flawed Thinker. And he's at 11 points, so he breaks out of a tie. So little movement in the standings today. All right, last card. 1970s. Milwaukee. I'll give you a hint. Bowling is his favorite pastime. That's not going to help you, is it? He also played for the Phillies. Briggs is correct. Johnny Briggs. And Uncle Rich. Getting Johnny Briggs. All right, so how about that? Updated scores. We have a tie in first place between Max and Card Hobbyist. Uncle Rich all the way up to third place with 26. Flipping Sports Guy at 22. Matt Like has 14. Joe Trotto 13. Dan has 13. Flawed Thinker broke out of his tie with a point today. He's got 11. Harlan has 10. We've got 3 with 7. Scotty Dubs, Brian Bourne, that dude from Duryea. Porter has 6. Merle has 5. And then a bunch of people with 1, 2, 3, and 4 points. So there you go. There you go. All right, let me get this stuff out of the way. Hit up my eBay store, 99centcards.com. I'm going to be doing some more shipping today. Probably more of a focused shipping day. But I will get some listings in at some point, I guess. So hit the like button if you haven't already. Here we go. Come see me in Janesville on Sunday. So we will do, yes, we're still on at noon. Free house. Absolutely. You are welcome. Happy early birthday, Uncle Rich. I am awful with birthdays, so I apologize in advance. Happy birthday. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We will go live tomorrow morning, probably our normal 8:30 a.m. Central Time. No show on Sunday, no Hobby Evolution on Sunday. I will be with Max in Janesville. So come see us in Janesville Sunday. Holiday Inn Convention Center just off I-39. I will have plenty of dime boxes, and I am looking to blow them out. So if you want bulk, come and see me in Janesville. So that's Sunday. And then we'll review the Janesville Card Show on Monday. All righty. 99centcards.com. That's the eBay store. A lot of new inventory added. Check it out. Save 25% when you buy 7 or more items at regular price. 99centcards.com. Like, subscribe, and we'll do it all again tomorrow morning. Have a great Friday.